Welcome to my channel.
Thank you.
I will be asking you 11 questions and I want you to answer them as honestly as you possibly can.
Okay.
Perfect. How relevant was your high school education in your career as a doctor?
Not relevant at all. No, I'm joking. I think it was a good stepping stone. I think just in terms of like basic sciences and stuff like that. But I don't think it has much relevance in my specific career right now.
It gave me the basic concepts. I understood that it was helpful in that way with biology and physics. But with regards to other topics, it's nice to know things in general.
Yeah.
Which is why I love medicine, because you know a lot. Yeah, it gave me a foundation, a good foundation to build on.
Okay.
So that
I don't think there's anything they could have done differently per se to better prepare us for this career. It's kind of just one of those things you gotta hit the ground running.
What is the best part about being in medical school?
nothing. Like,
I think the best part is that everyone gets to call you doctor. Yeah, like, basically that's it. And also helping people, obviously.
Okay, well, I guess the best part about being in medical school for me is doing procedures and just being able to perform a particular task or scribing into theater to assist. I think overall that's just that's the only pro like I have at this point in time.
start off early with working in the hospital, so just being trusted by patients with very confidential information. It feels really good being trusted right off the bat.
But yeah, that's
What is the worst part about being in medical school?
Everything, like everything about medical school is the worst part about medical school.
that list is endless. It's a lot of hours, obviously. You don't sleep, you don't eat. You basically have very poor relationships with everybody else.
It's emotionally, physically, psychologically draining.
I'm being ridiculed on a daily basis. I mean, we're expected to be perfect as medical students in every way, with your knowledge, the way you behave, in and outside the hospital. You're always expected to be good at everything you do, right? So that's the worst part of being a medical professional, I think, or just a medical student for me.
Everything is hard. It's being belittled by seniors and having to work long hours.
Social life is like stunted like forever and ever. And if you do go out, all you talk about is medicine and people get annoyed with you. So yeah, like those are some of the things that I really don't like about it.
Do you think society hold doctors at such high regard? If yes, why do you think so?
Yes, they definitely do.
I mean, obviously, everybody has held medicine to such a high regard, in the sense that people regard doctors as somewhat close to a god-like person because you have the capacity and the knowledge to save someone, and you're basically in charge of somebody's life if they get sick. So, of course, there's pressure from society to feel and be perfect. But at this point in time, I just feel like we're normal human beings like everybody else. And once we put down these lab coats, we are like everybody else.
If you're a lawyer, you're just a lawyer, you're just an accountant or something like that. But if you're a doctor, like people have this really high expectation of you, like you're the social worker, you're the church leader, you're the community leader, you're like people's financial advisor. People always they just assume that you have like this extrapolated knowledge from medicine to other fields and other aspects of life, which is, I think, it's very unrealistic to expect that of somebody. Like if you do go out or you're being social and someone sees you like at a party and you're drinking or something, then they're like, oh my gosh, she's a doctor. But I mean, we also get scared. Like I see my accountant and I'm like, oh my god, like why is he partying so hard? Like where's my money?
How has medical school changed you?
I would say it's made me a more like cutthroat bitch. Like it just made me a stronger person.
It's given me tougher skin, a thicker layer of skin, I'd say, because you have to deal with other people's frustrations, because you're obviously dealing with sick people who aren't well. So I've learned to keep my emotions to myself and just deal with the problem at hand. So that's what being in med school has taught me.
Okay.
More affirmative. I'm more like I make decisions. I'm more responsible. I stand my ground. I feel like I'm not as easily swayed as I was before, because obviously, like in this profession, you have to stick by your decisions, and like if you decide something, you have to like stand firmly by it.
I would say I'm more compassionate now. I am stronger now. I used to be the kind of person you would just walk all over, but that's not the case anymore. I used to be indecisive, but now I am forced to make decisions and stick to those decisions. So it has definitely strengthened the strong characteristics or the strong traits about me.
How often do you have patients confuse you for a nurse, and what is your attitude towards this?
I think it happens quite often. It happens to like, I think everybody. And I think a part of that is just because like we don't always have the proper, like the correct ID. Like you say, like my scrubs right now, I don't even have a name tag on. So that's my fault. So it happens quite a lot, and I don't have a problem with it, because I mean at the end of the day we're all in the same profession.
There was an incident where I was clerking a patient with a male colleague. We're dressed exactly alike with white coats and scrubs underneath. But the patient kept referring to me as a nurse and to him as a doctor, though we introduced ourselves as medical students. You know, and halfway through the interview, I asked this patient, why do you keep referring to me as a nurse and to him as a doctor? And she just said that she assumed I'm a nurse because I'm a female. I mean, of course I didn't take offense, because I'm not an actual doctor yet. But it just comes to show that people are not used to seeing women in this career, or seeing them as doctors, and that's quite a shame. But
it's not really that big of a deal, because nurses are awesome people. They're really strong people, and I look up to them. So I'm not offended when a patient calls me sister or something.
Describe what's your worst experience in medical school.
my worst experience in med school would have to be 2015. I think that was like my second year. I'd lost somebody at the beginning of the year, right? So we had a funeral, we cried, we grieved, everything was fine. And then I went back to school as a normal person would. However, I didn't realize that all of this sadness had spilled over into my academic life. I was not attending classes, I was not handing in my assignments, I was failing my tests, I was not writing my tests. I was just going through a lot emotionally and personally. And it wasn't until the end of the year, where I almost flunked the year, that I realized that I had months of just crying by myself, and I was just emotionally affected by this. It was a very difficult year, but like coming out of it and looking back, it just showed me how strong I am, and I'm proud of myself.
Top of my head, we had a patient that we were managing for renal failure, and then the patient was deteriorating quite quickly. So as we were like seeing the patient at that time, we were trying to decide like what we're gonna do. We're gonna do further imaging and stuff like that. And then she literally just died right there in front of us. Like, so it was I think it was just like a heavy moment.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, was the worst for me, at least this year.
Okay.
Seeing that clinical training starts in third year, had you known how grueling and difficult this whole training was going to be, would you have dropped out?
Yes, like I'll drop out right now. I really would have, because it's so demanding, and there are more days where you want to quit than you want to stay in this career. But at this point, you just want to finish and get out of this university as fast as possible. But like I would have left. But I'm glad I stayed. But I would have left. I would have left. I would have gone. Like gone.
No, definitely not. Because
Really?
that would, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it would have been a waste of time, first of all.
Yeah.
Secondly, there's nothing else I could picture myself doing in life other than what I'm doing today. It's not easy to change it for anything.
Had I known, I wouldn't have dropped out. And not because I wouldn't have been overwhelmed by it, which I am, it's quite overwhelming, but just because like this is what I've always wanted to do. Like I can't imagine myself doing something else. I was always prepared to like, face these challenges as they came up. But yeah, I definitely wish like someone had warned me like properly. I really wish they had told me what to expect, but no, I wouldn't have dropped out.
Okay.
Do you think medicine has its own separate challenges experiencing as a male or a female?
I think it definitely does, and I think one would be ignorant to believe otherwise. But my take on it is, I think right now when we're still all young and we're still going through our clinical training, it's not necessary, there's not much difference. We're pretty much on the same level. We pretty much, I think, experience it in the same way. The difference comes in when you're obviously an older female.
Obviously, the older you go or the older you become, you start thinking about the person you want to marry, the husband you want to take. You start thinking about children, how you're going to space out your children. You start thinking about whether you're going to specialize or not, and how you're going to balance your personal life and your academic career. So those are some of the things that men don't really necessarily have to worry about. As a lady has to go through 9 months of pregnancy and an additional month of maternity leave. Those are things that men don't have to worry about.
But for instance, to fall pregnant, you'd have to be doing the rounds and stuff. You'd be on your feet all day, and it's not like you get any special privileges or anything like that for being pregnant. So pretty much you're expected to do your calls, 48-hour calls. You're on your feet all day, just as a man would do, and then you'd still need to take out time to go have the baby and stuff. And so if you're doing something like if you're in your internship, you miss that time, and then you need to think about, okay, how am I going to make up those months?
But that is not an excusable fact, because there's so many women that are doing it, and they're doing it quite well. So it's definitely doable, but the older you get, the more complex it becomes with a job that is as demanding as being a doctor.
I think I wouldn't worry about it too much, but just always, of course, have a game plan and just really think about like when you're doing what as a woman.
Okay, seeing as we're approaching the end of your medical training, your 5th year, next year is student internship, and then the year after that, you're a medical intern. Are you ready to become a medical intern 2 years from now?
No, I don't think anyone is. I mean, I have faith and I trust in God to make sure that I'll be ready by the end of this degree to actually handle people's lives.
Yeah.
So right now I'm very scared, but I trust that I'll be ready, hopefully.
Yeah.
And if I'm not ready, then I'll adjust eventually.
All right.
Definitely a lot of anxiety about becoming a medical intern, seeing that we're about to approach the end of our training. But I have a lot of confidence in my training. I feel as though I have been exposed to sufficient practice. There are obviously gaps, and you could never fill those gaps completely. But to be a safe doctor, yeah, I'm ready.
Obviously always gonna feel like, okay, I don't know this drug, I don't know this condition, you know. But what I've experienced throughout the years is that a lot of people, you kind of just learn as you go. Obviously there are some basic things that you need to know, but a lot of things you learn, it's a practical field, so you learn by just doing it. You're never truly gonna be like ready. You're not gonna have like a moment of revelation where you're gonna sit like, okay, I'm ready now. So you kind of just jump in it, you start, you do it, you know. And I think that I'm quite prepared, and we'll see how it goes.
How would you advise people that want to pursue this career?
I think that you have to be 100% sure that this is what you want to do.
Okay.
You shouldn't be hesitant at all, because it's a very difficult path. It's gonna be so trying, and it's a long journey. 6 years is a long time.
Right.
So make sure that this is all you want to do, and that you're not going to deviate from that path at any point.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're not in it for the money. There are big dollars in it, but you're not going to enjoy your journey, and you're not going to make the most of life doing something that your heart isn't set on.
Just don't do it. Like, don't get in this career at all. I'm joking. If you want to get into this career, personally and academically, you need to work hard right from your high school years. Make sure that you get sufficient points in grade 12 in order to apply for medical school. Just make sure that you're on point with your work. Personally, you just need to be strong and understand that this career it's difficult, it's demanding, it's hard, and it's not just it's difficult, but it is really, really difficult, and it's very demanding, and it's hard, and it's a lot of pressure. So if you're ready for that and you feel like you want to do it and you just want to do that to yourself, then you're more than welcome.
All right.
Okay, it's a tough one. Look, if it's something that you want to do, if it's, you know, you're passionate, you want to help people, you want to you know, you're that hardworking person that doesn't mind long hours, that doesn't mind the commitment, you know, then do it. You know, definitely do it if it's for you. But if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, if you're doing it so that to please your parents, or you see that this and this person or friend of yours is doing it, or just because you got good grades in high school you're doing it, those things don't help you through the sleepless nights. They don't help you through the moments when you want to give up, you know, when people are shouting at you, telling you you don't know anything, even though you spent like the whole night reading. So do it with a good heart, do it if your heart is in it. Otherwise, really don't do it. Do something else. It's just gonna stress you out. Like it's incredibly stressful.
All right, the last question is, what are your dreams and ambitions?
But the number one thing for me is family, so that's always going to be a priority. So my medical career is going to be molded around my family life.
Okay.
So I'd like to specialize one day and just have a certain amount of hours that I work a week, so that I can spend the rest of the time just living. You know, I mean, not that being a doctor is a living, because, you know,
It's
living,
not
but
living, but okay.
but yeah, I want to be able to do other things, so I want to make sure that I can choose my hours.
I want to obviously graduate during the amount of time that I have estimated to graduate. I want to further my education. I want to specialize in the department that I see suits me. But ultimately, my dream is to open up and run a health center that caters for the Namibian population at an affordable price, where we have doctors, medical students, pharmacists, therapists, psychologists. It basically caters for everybody's needs in terms of health. And I want to have students come to that center and practice and learn and gain all the experience that they can, and have patients and just do a lot of community work. That's basically my dream, goal, and ambition for life.
Ask the question again.
Yeah.
Where's my piece of paper?
Answer, think about it.
Okay, so I just want to... Oh, yeah, okay.
Words have you learned in Oshwambo that you're using to communicate with your patients?
Do I have my penny?
What does that mean?
Where's the pain?
Yeah.
Tikama, stand up. Nangalapa, lay here.
The couch of wisdom.
Is
And
this the couch of wisdom?
the couch of
I
wisdom.
think it's the couch of wisdom.
You sit there, it's like wisdom just flows into
Just
you.
ask questions. What?
My cheeks look so big. Can't you like contour so I can look skinny?
Why should I shave my legs?
No, I don't think you should. And that put here if you shave your legs.
I'll break the
No,
window.
you're deep.
No, if you're making noise during an interview, I am going to throw a shoe at
So I
you.
can't stand here.
No, you can't stand here. You're not allowed to stand here.
See?
That is sweet.
We're very supportive friends.
No, you're not supportive at all. You guys were making noise the whole time. I had to like start a fight.
What are you doing, bro?
And the cameras are still on, but she thinks they're off.
I'm from Marine Town. Life gets hard in the city.